Randy Robinson at Live Today Plus. We've got a really special interview today. We're going to talk to some filmmakers, some pastors turned filmmakers, but I want to set it up with the trailer for this film, so check this out.
Final hand, final game. Winner chooses the location, one dart, no ifs, ands, or buts. Oh, God. Oh, are you kidding me? No. We're going to India.
How's your life, kiddo?
I've been busy planning my trip to India.
What?
I think India is great.
You have a blessing.
Thank you.
You mind telling me what just happened?
Yeah!
We are in India.
Where are the ladies at?
Let's get some action tonight.
Bottoms up. Where's my wallet? What's wrong with you?
Please, we're dying. Anika not eaten for 3 days.
Feed your own kid. It's not my deal.
Sir, I help you. Why is no help, please, sir?
You get me back to my hotel. I'll help you.
Welcome back, Mr. Ellis.
Who are they? You're not supposed to be along with them, actually. They're not from here.
I'll come back, okay? I told him I'd come back and help him, but I didn't, and I should have. I'm leaving. I'd rather be in my own bed at home. Airport, please. Do you remember me? Where's the little girl?
Gone, sir.
Where exactly did she go?
Man who buy her not safe.
You're telling me that you sold your daughter?
Best for Anika.
I'm not leaving until I see this is what you say it is. We're looking for a girl.
You have money? You want the gun?
These little girls that are sold into better lives, they end up as slaves.
That little girl needs you, Caden. She needs you to find her.
If we don't find her now, we may never be able to.
Everything always given to you?
You don't get to judge me. You sold your daughter into prostitution. No! Never seen anything like this before. This is literally life or death bad.
Where are you, son?
I don't know where I am. This girl could be dead. And to be honest with you, being dead would not be the worst thing for her.
Trust your heart. God sure does, or he wouldn't have you there.
I am different because of this little girl.
Thank you. You came back. Thank you.
That's the film Not Today. And I have Matthew Cork and Brent Martz, who are the guys that decided to make this movie. Thanks for being here with me.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, you're the pastor of a large church. Can we say mega church? Is that fair?
Yeah,
Do you like
French
that term?
church. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're the creative director?
Yeah.
Worship leader, and now movie maker. What made you guys decide, I think we should make a movie?
Well, it started in 2007 when I went to India, and Brent was with me on that trip, and it was our first trip. And missions pastor was telling us we're building some schools for the Dalits, which in India there's a caste system in the Hindu belief, and the Dalits are the untouchables, another name, and they're out of the caste system. They don't have any rights. They're less than animals, considered less than animals. And they said, we're building schools, and you need to come see it. And it was a 4-year journey to get me there. As I said, that was your job. You do that. I'll help you raise money. I'll help you with the teams that go, but I'm not going to go. And then God just kept working on me. So I went, and he really he wrecked me in an amazing way. And I remember going and seeing these children that in the middle of nowhere, they were living in a concrete sewer pipe that had been discarded and in back of a field, and these kids came running out, and Brent and I were there in this night, and it was dusk, and they come out, and they're speaking perfect English.
Wow.
And they said, hello, sir, my name is Kumar. And he'd shake my hand, and then we'd had a conversation, and a guy looked at me, and he said, these are your kids. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, we bused them to your school, the school that you built. They won't live in a pipe again. Their kids won't live in a pipe because they're getting an education. And then he just said, thank you. And it was in that moment that I was kind of humbled, and I was embarrassed because I didn't want to come. I wasn't, I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to help from a distance. And then God said, no, Matthew, this is what you're going to be about. And I'm going to take your church. And we look in the city of Yorba Linda in California, one of the wealthiest zip codes. And he said, I'm going to have this church care for the poorest of the poor. And he's kind of bridged those two worlds together. And so OM India is building schools, and we decided to jump in, and this was a part of helping us build schools. This is a medium that we felt God had called us to do.
Yeah, well, most people would think, hey, let's give them some financial support, maybe send some missionaries over there, maybe even build them a school or something, and you guys think, let's make a movie.
Let's make a movie.
Right, where did that all germinate? What happened?
Well, we had on my first trip to India with Matthew, like he said, it changed our lives in profound ways. It's easy to say changed my life, but this really did change our lives. I've traveled all over the world, but I'd never seen anything like in India before. It's a beautiful country. At the same time, it's there's a lot of tragedy there as well. So just the dichotomy of that was amazing to be in the midst of it. And so we came back and thought of how do we communicate what we've seen and what we've experienced with our church? How do you bring it back halfway around the world to this, church in Yorba Linda? And so we said, let's speak the language of our culture. Let's do a film, a documentary film at that time, to kind of help our people see the images and hear the stories. So we did a 14-minute documentary, and it really helped get our church to a new level, but it still wasn't enough for them to really feel it, I don't think. I mean, documentaries have a huge purpose, but it's a lot of head knowledge, and we wanted to connect it with the heart. And so we developed this feature film story about this young Dalit girl, and went to pitch it to Matthew, and he had already had some people talk to him about, what about Yorba Linda doing a film? So when I went to sit in his office, his heart was primed already for the conversation.
I was about ready to have the conversation with him.
Really?
I was about ready to say, hey, why don't we do a movie? I didn't know he was coming to bring me storyboards.
Really?
So he was bringing me storyboards almost at the same exact time to say, hey, we got an idea.
So did you write the script yourself?
I did not write the script. John Van Dyke, who's the director of the film, he wrote the script, and it was his story that I believe God gave to him in this whole journey of our church in India. And so when I sat in his office and he said, I was going to talk to you about this, it was really the first God moment of many, many, many God moments since then. But it was confirmation that this was something that God was calling us to do. It just wasn't a whim. This was something that God was leading.
Yeah. Now, John Van Dyke, the guy you mentioned, he actually has directed a lot.
This is his first feature film, but he's done a lot of stuff in Hollywood in the past.
Okay, so one thing you didn't do was say, I think we can pull this off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense you did, because you had him from the start, but you guys have tried to do it right, if I dare say. In fact, I saw some critics of yours on PBS, and they called churches that decide to make movies dangerous and inauthentic.
Right. Yeah.
So you guys have avoided some of those pitfalls and gone with some real professionals here, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the professional kind of level of the film.
Well, we tried. We understood that we're in California. We're in Orange County. We're close to Hollywood. So we looked and said, we have all of these assets and all of these tools so close. As a church in this community, we really need to step up, we believe, what God has called us to do things with excellence and to honor Him with the very best we can. And being that close, actors, cameramen, all of that. So we decided that it was to present to our church to say, hey, we want your help, but we're really going to go forth and get the best actors we can for the money we have to make this movie as something that we would represent us well, but represent the kingdom well. Right. And so we went forth and we started auditioning people, and we went after the best we could get. And it was really amazing to see for us. We look at the movie and we're excited for what we had to spend, and what came out was truly an amazing gift to us.
Yeah. But you guys have something more than just a Christian movie, which typically means a B movie, right?
Yeah.
You got something that legitimately will entertain and inspire, hopefully. Tell me a little bit about the process, because you guys didn't shoot in a back lot at Warner Brothers, right?
No.
You guys took everybody over to India.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah.
It was, I don't even know the word to describe it. Challenging would be a great word. I mean, we were inspired by what Sherwood has done with all their films, Courageous and Fireproof and the like. And so we said, well, they have a great model. They made a film, and so, but we didn't factor going outside of the U.S. We didn't factor all those kind of things into that, because
It's a challenge.
It was a challenge, yeah. And so every day was a unique experience in India. We teamed up with Johnny Lever Film Company, over there, and Johnny Lever is kind of like the Jim Carrey of India. He's a great Christian man who decided to jump in and help us with all the production services that we would need in India, and they were very helpful, and we wouldn't have a film without them. So they helped us with location scouting and with casting and all those kind of things. But you know, on the website of filming in India, it says submit your permit, your application for a permit, and it's a 3-week turnaround. So we were like, whoa, we have plenty of time. It's all good. 9 months later, we got approval. So it was just a long, that should have been an indicator of crazy waters ahead. Yeah. On location filming in India, Bollywood makes more films than Hollywood. Right. So they really have filmed down. But usually they film in a controlled set. They don't film on location too much. So all the sound is all ADR'd. Everything is all done post, But we shot on location, actually in slums, actually in neighborhoods and villages, and on trains, and so for us, that authentic piece was important to us because that helped capture what we first experienced when we were there, and that was hugely important to us. That we just didn't, show India, but we captured India and brought it home with us. So that was important to us.
Yeah. Now you guys may or may not say it, but I'm assuming that one goal is to recoup your investment financially, right?
Right.
Aside from that, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Well, I think there's two things. For the deletes, we believe that our church is the catalyst church in the West for freeing the deletes in our generation. That's the tagline. And we have partnered with Operation Mobilization in India to build schools for these children. So as a church, we have, over the next 10 years, decided that we're going to build 200 schools in India for the deletes. OM's goal is 1,000, and we have been 20% of all of their activity. And so we're building schools. And so there's two things. We want to build schools. We want to sponsor children. And so every child that goes to our school is sponsored. And they are given a uniform, they're given a meal every day, they're given an English medium education at a school that represents Christ and teaches them not only English, but what it is to be a follower of Christ and what it is to be made in His image. And so when we went there and we saw that this was already happening, and we just felt that as they gave us their vision of 1,000 schools, they told us we were 20% already in the very beginning days, and they wouldn't be where they are without us. I felt God saying, you need to be 20% for the next 10 years. And so that's what we're doing. And this movie is the medium to share about what is going on and to open people's eyes, to be a part of this conversation and to help us build schools and sponsor children. And so right now, the movement has 105 schools built, 25,000 students all across India. And so for us as a church, we've built 40 schools. So we're well on our way. And we really believe that 200 schools is just the beginning for us.
Now, one thing, you talk about schools, and you talk about helping these untouchables, these outcasts, but you're also delving into a little darker area with the sex trade.
Yeah.
What's the motivation, what's the kind of role that whole underside of India plays in this project?
Yeah. Well, I think if we look at it, the deletes, 90% of those trafficked in India are considered deletes. And so we look and say we want to bring awareness not just to India in human trafficking, around the world. Human trafficking is going on right around the corner from us. Yeah. And so we look and say we believe it's a problem stateside, but we also believe it's a problem internationally. And so as we looked at India and we started making this movie, it is the topic of conversation in the movie Not Today. But for us, it has that bigger picture that we understand that if we can get to the preventative side, and we can get these children off the streets and out of the slums, if we can get them into a school, that we are beginning to help prevent them from being trafficked. And so it is really a way of getting on the front side of this. And this movie is the medium to open up our eyes, the Western culture and the Western world, who sometimes we might even ignore it, we might not even think it exists, but it does. That if we can get them to be aware and begin to understand that if they put kids in schools, they will be helping to stop this human trafficking epidemic that is spreading throughout the world.
Yeah, the movie struck me a little bit similar to the movie Taken, the Liam Neeson film, because you've got someone who is a young child who is taken into the sex trade, and sort of the plot line revolves around finding that child and rescuing them. Why'd you decide to go with that kind of thriller angle for a film?
Well, I think everything that's in Not Today, we've experienced when we've been there. We've met the parents who have sold their children because they think they're selling them into a better life. You know, we've had conversations with the father that is wondering where his daughter is because he regrets his decision because he was uninformed and he was kind of, you know, duped really into thinking that this was good for her. You know, we've visited the homes of girls who have been rescued. We've interviewed them. So for us, this was. Although this isn't one person's story from beginning to end, there are stories that we've seen throughout the film.
Right.
Everything in the movie we've seen, you know. So for us, it was also a way to connect what's happening in India with a topic that is so culturally relevant today. And you know, filming this film, I mean, when we were doing location scouting, we actually went into brothels. I mean, we actually saw women sleeping on the floor. You know, I mean, they were actually had been sold, you know, and so that was a difficult thing. I mean, for me, that was when reality, I came face to face with reality in a profound way, you know, to walk out of there. And when you first walked in, the owner of this brothel said, "Oh, you come back later, I'll give you a good deal," you know, and I was thinking, he doesn't even know me, you know, and it was just one of those moments when I said, God has to do something with this film, you know, and we as Christians have an obligation, you know, to speak out for the voiceless, you know, and so it was, I mean, emotion runs deep for us in this film because we've seen it, you know, and we know the faces of the people that we hope will be helped because of it.
Yeah, we wish we had the budget of Taken to do the thriller.
Sure.
But what we wanted to do was bring to life the real stories. Yeah. And when you see, and you know, a 5-year-old girl that, as Brent said, her parents sold her into slavery. Yeah. And then at 17.
Not willingly. And I think that's an important point because they're usually, like you say, they're usually tricked into doing this. It's not like you got a bunch of evil parents.
No, not at
all. A lot of times they're told they're giving their daughters a better life.
Right.
That's what I've seen. You know,
and that happens a lot.
places.
And then you add in, you're not making enough money, or we can't even survive.
Right.
And so they think this is going to help. But yet, from 5 to 17, she was sold into slavery. And then we get to see her when she was rescued. And then she accepts Jesus. And then you see her with her parents, and she's doing an interview, and she's forgiven them. And it's because of what God did. And we sit there and go, we get to be a part of this. And we watch our daughters. We both have daughters. You have a daughter. At 5 years old, we couldn't even imagine that would even be a part. It wouldn't even be in our minds to ever do that. Yet it's happening every day there. And if we can be a small part in getting them off the streets and then getting them an education, where we're not just taking them off the streets, we're giving them an opportunity to have a new life.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have daughters. You guys have daughters. I have too. And, you know, my first reaction in those situations, at first is almost shock. It's like, really? Yeah. It's almost surreal. And then, frankly, it's anger.
Yeah.
Because you want to be like Liam Neeson and go, you know, shoot everybody in the way and get the girls out.
Exactly.
And then it kind of breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Did you experience that cycle?
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
And I go there every time. Each year I go about twice a year. And it's part of the reality for me because I think God uses that place to break my heart and to remind me again and again of the broken people around the world. Because sometimes in our culture, you can just forget. And I quickly can forget. And so I go there, and you do go through every stage. It's pretty much going, this can't be happening. And then it is that deep frustration. And then you go, I have to do something. And now I come back to a church, and as a pastor, I have a responsibility. I can't look at the scriptures the same anymore. I can't look at Proverbs 29 that says, speak up for the voiceless. Step in and do something. You know, be the voice for the poor and the needy. I have to do that. I can't look and say that's somebody else's responsibility. That's some other church's responsibility. It was ours. So we looked and said, you know, from that burden God gave us, and I believe it was a burden, that now we had to tell the story, and we have to expose this, and we have to do what God's called us to do. Because now we know, our eyes have seen, it's a responsibility that we can't pass on. So we've said this is something for us. This movie was a medium to get the message out. And now we feel God has given it, and we're going to be faithful and obedient to follow through.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are going to see when they watch your film what you've seen to a degree. And, you know, it's not just your church's responsibility, it's the church's responsibility to do something here. I urge you to check out Not Today, see where it's at, if it's still in theaters, if it's on DVD, on on demand, however you get it. What's your website for people to get updates on the film?
It's nottodaythemovie.com.
Nottodaythemovie.com. Great. We'll put that on the screen. Really urge you to check it out. I mean, it is entertaining, but it's informative, and I think you'll find it motivational and inspirational. Thank you guys for the hard work you're doing. I know this is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And I thank you guys for taking a few minutes to sit with us and talk about the film.
Thank you very much.